Men are but pawns, believing themselves free, yet their lives are bound by chains they cannot see. You imagine your choices are your own, your relationships are built on affection, and your success is a product of merit. You are deceived. Today, we will dissect the 12 unyielding laws that govern this silent game of power, and reveal how you have been a willing subject in a kingdom you never knew existed. It is a truth, seldom spoken but universally felt, that the world operates not on the ideals of virtue, but on the cold, hard currency of power. For centuries, my name has been a whisper in the halls of the ambitious and a curse on the lips of the knave. I, Machiavelli, return not to offer comfort, but a blade to cut away the illusions of morality that blind you to the true nature of men and the state. We shall descend into the shadows of human conduct, to the place where fear eclipses love, where appearance is more potent than truth, and where control is not seized but artfully engineered. Abandon your sentimentalities at the threshold. Here we deal only in what is, not what ought to be. Consider the bonds that hold your world together. The loyalty of your subordinates, the devotion of your lover, the obedience of your children. You believe these are built on a foundation of affection, of mutual goodwill. This is your first and most catastrophic error. Affection is a voluntary offering, given today and withdrawn tomorrow. It is a fickle chain, easily broken by self-interest. But fear is a prison of the mind, engineered by you, from which few dare to escape. History does not remember the beloved. It remembers the obeyed. Look to the Roman Empire. Was it the generosity of the emperors that held the vast frontiers? Or was it the grim, unrelenting terror of the legions? A governor in a distant province might dream of rebellion, seduced by the cheers of a local mob. But the moment he visualizes the cold, professional march of the legions, disciplined, pitiless, and bearing the standard of an emperor who will not forgive, that dream curdles into ash. The cheers of the mob are fleeting. The certainty of a swift and absolute reprisal is a constant, chilling reality. This is not a theory. It is the mechanics of control. I ask you directly, when your employee considers laziness, what stops him? Is it his fondness for you? Or is it the cold, sharp calculation of the consequences? The loss of his position, the ruin of his finances, the judgment of his family. You have built a cage around him, not with bars of iron, but with the dread of loss. This is the architecture of power. Love is a debt you must constantly repay with kindness, with attention, with gifts. It is a drain on your resources. But fear is a tax they pay to you in the currency of their compliance. It is a direct deposit into the treasury of your will. Think of the manager who seeks to be a friend to all. He is jovial, accommodating, avoids conflict. What is the result? His directives are treated as suggestions. His deadlines are seen as flexible. His authority is eroded, day by day, by the very familiarity he cultivated. Now observe the manager who is respected, which is but a polite word for feared. His words are not loud, but they carry weight. His silence is more threatening than another man's shout. His employees do not work hard for his approval. They work hard to avoid his displeasure. They govern themselves, preemptively, according to what they believe his will to be. You have not commanded them, you have programmed them. This is the psychological core. Fear operates in the theater of the imagination. It forces the subject to become the primary agent of their own control. They police their own actions, they censure their own thoughts, all to avoid triggering the consequence you represent. You are not a tyrant constantly exerting energy. You are a spectre, a principle of cause and effect that lives rent-free in their mind. Your power is amplified because they are doing the work for you. But you must understand the crucial distinction. I do not speak of mindless brutality. To be hated is as dangerous as to be loved. Hatred inspires plots, rebellion, and desperate acts. The goal is not to be hated. The goal is to be feared in such a way that you are ever not hated. How is this achieved? Your power to punish must be immense, but its application must be surgical, infrequent, and impeccably justified. You do not lash out in petty rage. You administer consequences with the cold, impersonal precision of a surgeon removing a diseased limb. You make it clear that the punishment is not a product of your emotion, but an inevitable, mechanical result of their own transgression against the natural law of your authority. They must believe that crossing you is not merely angering a man, but violating a fundamental law of the universe, your universe. You have been taught that fear is a weakness, a sign of insecurity. This is the propaganda of the weak, designed to shackle the strong. To renounce fear is to renounce one of the most potent and reliable instruments of command ever known to man. It is to build your fortress on the shifting sands of human sentiment. So I put this question to you, and do not answer lightly. Would you rather spend your life perpetually purchasing the fleeting loyalty of men, or would you command the constant, self-replenishing reserve of their dread? This, however, is merely the foundation. For the power to instill fear is useless if you do not know when to unleash it and when to hold it in reserve. The next law governs this very calculus, the strategic application of cruelty and mercy. And it is here that most aspiring princes make their most fatal and most bloody miscalculation. You have learned the power of fear, but now you face the great dilemma of command when to unleash it. To be relentlessly harsh is to be called a tyrant, and tyrants invite rebellion. To be endlessly merciful is to be seen as weak, and weakness invites contempt. So where is the balance? There is none. Balance is a fantasy for those who wish to be liked. For the true prince, there is only strategy. There is only the cold calculus of force. Let us be clear. I do not speak of sadism. The enjoyment of suffering is a pathology, a luxury for the damned that clouds the judgment. I speak of cruelty as a political instrument, a surgical tool. Its purpose is not to inflict pain, but to establish order, to communicate a lesson so absolute that it need only be taught once. Consider the founder of the Ming dynasty, the Hongwu emperor. He rose from peasant to sovereign, and he understood that a new dynasty, born from chaos, must be cemented in absolute order. When he suspected corruption in his court, he did not issue warnings. He did not levy fines. He had the officials flayed alive, and their skin, stuffed with straw, was displayed on the thrones of their successors. A grisly spectacle, undoubtedly. But was it effective? The message was not written on parchment, it was carved into the psyche of every official who followed. The cost of disloyalty was not a demotion, it was an obliteration. The empire was stabilized for generations. This is the essence of well-used cruelty. It is not frequent. It is not random. It is a single, catastrophic event that rewrites the rules of what is possible. It makes your will a tangible, terrifying force in the world. Now, contrast this with the man who cannot bear to be severe. The manager who knows an employee is poisoning morale, stealing credit, undermining projects. But the manager hesitates. He offers one more chance. He delivers a gentle, private reprimand. What has he communicated? He has communicated that the cost of betrayal is a conversation. He has taxed disloyalty at a rate so low that every rational actor will choose to pay it. His misplaced mercy is not kindness, it is permission for the cancer to spread. The chaos that follows, the collapse of team morale, the failed projects, this blood is on his hands. His single act of weakness spilled more blood than a single, decisive act of severity ever would have. Mercy, therefore, is not the opposite of cruelty. They are two tools in the same kit. Mercy must be just as strategic. You show mercy not because you are soft-hearted, but because it serves your reputation. You pardon a defeated enemy to appear magnanimous, to encourage others to surrender. You forgive a minor transgression to build a reserve of gratitude, a debt that you may call upon later. But you must never, ever show mercy when it will be interpreted as weakness or fear. That is not mercy, it is self-sabotage. The modern world preaches unconditional compassion. This is a doctrine designed to paralyze the strong. It convinces you that the immediate horror of a single severe act is worse than the long, slow decay of 1,000 indulgences. Do not be deceived. The suffering caused by chronic disorder, the lives stunted by a corrupt system, the ambitions crushed by a permissive culture, This suffering is far greater. But it is quiet, it is distributed. And thus, weak-minded conscience does not register it. So you must reframe your morality. Ask not, is this action cruel? Ask instead, does this action secure the state? Does it solidify my authority? Does it prevent greater suffering in the long term? Your duty is not to avoid being called harsh. Your duty is to ensure the survival and stability of your realm, be it a nation or your own life. You must become a surgeon of human conflict. The scalpel is cruel, it cuts, it causes pain. But the surgeon who refuses to use it, who lets the gangrene spread out of a misplaced tenderness for the limb, is a murderer. He has chosen his own moral comfort over the life of the patient. You now hold the two instruments, the scalpel and the bandage. But knowing when to use which is only half the battle. For to wield them effectively, you must master the art of perception itself. You must learn to wear a mask and to become a master of two natures. The fox and the lion await you in the next lesson, and it is there that we will explore the most potent weapon in your arsenal, the strategic lie. You understand force. You grasp the strategic value of fear. But to rely on the lion alone is to be a brute, destined for a trap set by a more cunning foe. And to rely on the fox alone is to be unarmed, unable to defend your spoils when challenged by a stronger power. The world is a wilderness populated by both wolves and sheep, and you must learn to be both hunter and shepherd. You must become a creature of dual nature, the fox to discern the traps, and the lion to terrify the wolves. The lion is your capacity for open, undeniable force. It is the public dismissal of a disloyal subordinate. It is the lawsuit filed against a treacherous partner. It is the legions marching on the horizon. Its power is raw, immediate, and visceral. But it is also simple. It has no subtlety. Everyone can see the lion coming. And seeing it, they can prepare. They can dig pits. They can build walls. They can form alliances. The lion, for all its strength, can be outmaneuvered. The fox is your capacity for cunning, for duplicity, for strategic perception. It is the art of seeing the trap before your foot falls. It is the ability to make your enemy believe you are his ally. It is the smile that disarms suspicion while you maneuver for the kill. The fox operates not in the realm of force, but in the realm of information and illusion. Its greatest weapon is not the claw, but the lie that is believed. Consider the rise of Caesar Borgia. When he seized the Romagna, he found it ruled by cruel, incompetent petty lords. The people were restless. He could have played the lion, crushing them with overt force, making a spectacle of his power. But that would have made him a foreign oppressor, breeding resentment. Instead, he appointed a lieutenant, Ramiro de Orco, a man known for his merciless efficiency. De Orco was the lion. He pacified the region with such brutal severity that he became the object of all the people's hatred. Then, Caesar played the fox. One morning, the populace found Ramiro de Orco's body, cut in two, displayed in the public square. The message was clear: the cruel minister had exceeded his orders, and the magnanimous prince had delivered justice. Caesar had used the lion's ferocity to establish order, and the fox's cunning to harvest the goodwill. He reaped the reward of the severity without incurring the blame. This is the essence of the dual nature. You must know which mask to wear, and when. In the boardroom, do you need to be the lion, stating your terms with unshakable authority? Or do you need to be the fox, listening attentively, appearing to agree, all the while gathering intelligence on their weaknesses, their fears, their true desires? The fox learns what the lion would never hear. You must cultivate this duality within yourself. To be always the lion is to be predictable, exhausting, and ultimately isolated. To be always the fox is to be seen as sly, untrustworthy, and lacking in substance. But the one who can seamlessly shift between the two becomes an enigma, unreadable, unmanageable. Your colleague proposes a foolish plan. The lion in you wants to roar it down, to dominate. But the fox asks, what if you let him proceed? What if you offer your cautious support, while privately insulating yourself from the fallout? When his plan fails, as it must, his authority is shattered. Yours remains intact, and you are positioned to step in with the solution. The fox allowed a rival to hang himself with the rope you provided. The lion was never needed. This is not mere hypocrisy. It is statecraft for your own life. It is the understanding that truth, like power, is a tool to be deployed, not a virtue to be worshipped. You must appear truthful, compassionate, and honorable. You must wear the mask of virtue so perfectly that it becomes your face in the eyes of the world. But beneath that mask, you must retain the absolute freedom to act contrary to those virtues when necessity demands. You are now learning to command both force and deception. But to what end? All this strategy is meaningless if you are merely reacting to the whims of circumstance. To truly command your life, you must not wait for opportunity. You must seize the wheel of fortune itself, and that requires an understanding of the most volatile and misunderstood force in human affairs, a force that is, in its nature, profoundly female. You have learned to be both fox and lion. You have mastered the tools of force and deception. But to what end? To be a master of tactics without a strategy is to be a soldier fighting in the fog. You are still at the mercy of events, of chance, of the unpredictable tides of fate. Most men live as leaves in this storm, tossed about, blaming their misfortune on the winds. This is a confession of weakness. I offer you a different path, not to endure fortune, but to command her. I have written that fortune is a woman. Understand the metaphor. She is not a placid goddess to be worshipped with prayer. She is vibrant, capricious, and drawn to those with audacity. She yields not to the cautious, the hesitant, the one who politely asks for permission. She is captivated by the young, the bold, the impetuous, those who have the vigor to seize her and hold her fast. Look at the rise of the Medici. Was their ascent a quiet, preordained destiny, or was it a violent, audacious grab for power? Cosimo de' Medici, exiled by his rivals, did not wait for fortune to smile upon him. He used his vast wealth to turn public opinion, to buy allies, to orchestrate a political upheaval that not only brought him back to Florence, but made him its uncrowned prince. He did not ask. He took. He recognized that fortune is not a gatekeeper, but a prize. Now, look at your own life. That promotion you desire, are you waiting to be recognized? That business you dream of starting, are you waiting for the perfect moment when all risk has vanished? That person you wish to confront, are you waiting for their mood to improve? You are not waiting for opportunity. You are waiting for your own courage to die. You are treating fortune like a queen to be petitioned, when she is, in truth, a prize to be won. The modern world teaches you to mitigate risk, to create a safe, predictable life. This is a gilded cage. It is a life without sovereignty. The man who avoids all storms never learns to sail. He remains forever in the harbor, watching the ships of the bold return with treasure, telling himself they were merely lucky. He does not see the preparation, the will, the sheer force of character it took to seize that luck from the jaws of chaos. Fortune controls half of our actions. This is undeniable. A sudden market crash, an unexpected betrayal, a global event, these are her whims. But she leaves the other half, or nearly so, to be governed by our own will. And that will is the lever with which we can shift the world. Your will is the rudder on the ship of your destiny. Without it, you are adrift in her storm. With it, you can steer through the tempest, or even use its winds to propel you forward. Do you believe the great empires were built by men who waited for a signed invitation from fate? They were built by men who saw a void and filled it with their own ambition. They imposed their order upon chaos. They did not seek permission from the universe. They announced their new reality to it. This is the final psychological shift. You must stop seeing yourself as a subject of circumstance and start seeing yourself as its prince. Your life is your principality. Is it well ordered? Is it secure? Is it expanding? Or is it weak, disordered, and prey to the first strong force that passes by? The answer lies not in the stars, but in the quality of your own will, your ars virta. The timid man sees a closed door and accepts it as a boundary. The man of virta sees a closed door and tests its hinges. He looks for a key. He considers a battering ram. He will not be defined by a barrier. So I ask you, are you a subject in the kingdom of chance, or are you its ruler? The final law does not concern the world outside you. It concerns the world within. It is the master key to all the others, for it reveals how to weaponize the most potent illusion of all, the mask of virtue itself. You have learned to seize fortune by the hair. You have mastered the dual nature of the fox and the lion. But all this is for nothing if you are perceived as a monster. The final and most subtle art is not the exercise of power, but the theatrics of it. The world is a stage, and the masses are a fickle, short-sighted audience. They do not judge you by the secret ledgers of your actions, but by the grand performance of your character. True virtue is often a shackle. But the appearance of virtue, that is the most versatile weapon in your arsenal. You must understand the fundamental schism. The private man and the public persona are two distinct entities. The private man may be ruthless, calculating, and free from sentimental morality, but the public figure, he must be a paragon. He must appear just, compassionate, and honorable. This is not hypocrisy. It is statecraft. It is the difference between being good and being seen as good. And in the contest for power, the perception is the only reality that matters. Consider the reign of Augustus Caesar. He emerged from the bloody proscriptions and civil wars that followed Julius Caesar's assassination. His hands were no less stained than those of Mark Antony. But while Antony played the part of an Eastern decadent, consorting with Cleopatra, Augustus meticulously crafted a different image in Rome. He presented himself as a restorer of ancient traditions, a pious man who lived in a modest house, a reluctant leader serving the Republic. He wore the mask of the humble servant so perfectly that the Senate willingly gave him absolute power, believing it was their own idea. He did not seize the crown, he had it offered to him, wrapped in the illusion of virtue. His power was built not just on legions, but on a narrative. This is the psychological lever you must pull. People crave narratives of goodness. They need to believe in heroes and righteous leaders. This craving is a weakness in them, and therefore a strength for you. Feed them the story they desire. Let them see your compassion, but never let them see your calculus. Let them witness your integrity, but never glimpse the ledger where you weigh the costs. A modern executive must fire half his division to save the company. The lion executes the order. The fox finds a way to blame market conditions, but the master strategist does something more. Before the layoffs, he launches a highly visible, charitable initiative. He gives a speech about the painful, but necessary sacrifices we must all make to preserve our community's future. He appears anguished, resolute. He wears the mask of the burdened leader. The action is the same. The result is the same, but the perception has been skillfully managed. The narrative is not about his ruthlessness, but his tragic, necessary strength. You must become a curator of your own reputation. Every public act is a brushstroke on this canvas. Your social media posts, your charitable donations, your carefully chosen words of empathy in a crisis. These are not expressions of your soul. They are strategic deposits in the bank of public opinion. You are building a reserve of goodwill that will insulate you when you must, inevitably, act in your own cold self-interest. The man who is seen as purely self-interested has no allies, only temporary accomplices, but the man who is seen as virtuous, his enemies hesitate to strike for fear of public outrage. His followers defend him not out of fear, but out of genuine belief. He can commit the most ruthless acts and be forgiven because his reputation precedes him, painting his necessary cruelties as anomalies forced upon him. So I ask you, what is your mask made of? Is it the stern face of justice, the kind visage of the benefactor, the passionate countenance of the true believer? You must choose it, craft it, and never, ever remove it in public, for in the eyes of the world, you are not what you are. You are what you appear to be. This concludes our examination of the 5 core laws. But the architecture of power has 12 pillars. The foundations you have learned are useless without the advanced strategies that complete them. We have only just begun to chart the shadows. The remaining 7 laws delve into the art of war in everyday life, the management of advisors, and the final, absolute doctrine for securing a principality that is entirely your own. Your education is not complete. The path to true sovereignty lies just ahead. We have journeyed through the shadows of power, where the strings of control are pulled from the dark. You now understand that true authority is not seized in a blaze of glory, but engineered in the quiet, cold calculus of human nature. The lion's roar is heard, but the fox's whisper is obeyed. Fear is the chain, perception is the mask, and your will is the only true instrument of fortune. This is the grim, unadorned reality those in power have always understood. The masses believe they are free, while they are, in fact, masterfully governed. The question that remains is not whether these laws exist, but whether you have the stomach to apply them. To see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. If these truths have found a home in your strategic mind, your education must continue. Declare your alignment below. Comment with the law that most reshaped your perspective. Subscribe to this channel, for we have only begun to dissect the architecture of control, and share this knowledge with those few you deem worthy of such weapons. The game is eternal. Will you remain a piece, or will you become a player? The choice is yours.